Hello all and welcome, and I am the MGTOW philosopher. Now in this video I'd like to talk more about ADHD and the prime motivations for it being pushed as a legitimate medical disorder when it doesn't actually exist. Now I made another video about how ADHD is a hoax and spoke about why it's a hoax. But in this I would like to speak more directly to the, shall we say, motivations of those who pushed it. Now, starting motivation and biggest was the left and the feminists and the cultural Marxists wanting to destroy boys and to pathologize those traits that are strongest in men. Now, the main result was making anything masculine into a pejorative. That was the main goal, and that's been the main result that has occurred. Men are pathologized for their behavior. Any behavior that is overtly masculine is seen as wrong, and it must be suppressed. Now, you can only do that if you make the behavior in and of itself in an extreme form into a disorder, into a mental disorder. It is no surprise that the main people who focus on diagnosing and treating this disease are psychologists, this supposed disease. You'll be referred to a child psychologist to verify the existence of such a disease, and sometimes a doctor might verify it. It's a medical doctor or a psychologist or psychiatrist. Regardless, this disorder is seen as much as a mental disorder, is my point, as it is a physical disorder. It's classified as a disease, but diseases are not generally looked at it by mental health professionals unless it's a mental disease. So you see right there, being a man, being masculine, is lopped in with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. Being extremely masculine is labeled as a mental disorder. You have a mental disorder. Don't let them tell you, oh, it's a disease. No, it's considered a mental disorder. It is considered a mental disease. It is no different in the sense of being a mental disease than it is for, say, schizophrenia or bipolar. It's rooted in the mind. It's a disease of the mind. You are mentally ill. As many pejoratives and as many shameful pejoratives are attached to being ADHD. It has been created to pathologize and make into a bad thing the qualities that create a male. And it's really quite sad because it is masculinity that builds society. And the leftists don't seem to understand that if you destroy that which built it, that is also what maintains it and keeps it stable. And if you destroy that, society will collapse. Leftists are such arrogant morons, they believe that they can take over where the masculine, strong men, leaders left off and do perfectly well, even better, in running things. Yeah, good luck with that. That's reason one. Now, incidentally, because of that, big pharmaceutical comes in. Now, they want to sell drugs. And what's the best way to sell drugs than to make half the population hooked on them? Need them. It's a necessity. You got ADHD, buddy. You got to take drugs forever. Now they don't just push it on kids, they push it on adults as well to try and grow the number of customers. And of course, the doctors that prescribe these drugs get kickbacks. The doctors that prescribe them, the doctors that essentially diagnose these issues, they benefit in some way, shape, or form in many cases. These drugs are pushed. This diagnosis is pushed. Big surprise, to make money. To make money for the big business pharmaceutical industry. Yes. That wasn't initially the goal, but of course it became a goal, and it's an incidental consequence of the feminist, leftist, cultural, Marxist push to destroy masculinity. But now it's also one of the prime motivators. It's good. This is good for the left. They don't mind that. Whatever motivation you can create to push this agenda, to push this narrative, is for them good, because it's destruction of the male that's important. And teachers like it. Teachers, who are mostly female and feminist, they love it, because boys who behave and do what they're told. They're just like girls. And wow, you know, if you've ever been a teacher, it's really great to have your students just sit there and listen to you like potted plants, and they speak when spoken to, and they get good grades or passingly good grades. Not that that matters anymore in American schools, but they behave. That's most important. That's all that matters, and your job is easy, and you go home at 2:30, 3 o'clock, and, you know, everything is wonderful, right? Right? Now, of course, everything is not wonderful because the boy is suffering. The boy is suffering physically because his brain mass will likely not be as great in adulthood because he's being given drugs. And it's very difficult to anticipate the effects that drugs will have when given to a child who is still developing and growing. It used to be that you don't give drugs to kids because you know it can fuck them up. For example, fetal alcohol syndrome, you don't give liquor to babies in the womb because it can fuck them up. Well, the same thing is true with kids. If you give them drugs, and liquor is a drug, of course, yes, children in the womb are developing, and hence any foreign substance introduced that could be toxic, that could cause harm, is more likely to do so. But the same logic would extend to children. Yes, they're bigger, so they have more resistance to toxic substances, but the same logic stands. You don't give developing children drugs because we still don't know the full effects, but we do know some of them. A lower muscle mass, shorter heights on average, lower brain mass, less ability to control your impulses or to focus and concentrate, which is interesting because the drug is supposed to help you do that better, but if you take it away, no, not really. It has those effects. So shrinking the brain, lower muscle mass, lower height, poor impulse control, poorer ability to concentrate and focus. And, geez, you know, that sounds like a subset of human. That sounds like a sex that I'm well aware of. Oh, women! That sounds just like women! So the whole point of giving kids ADHD drugs, because they're almost entirely given to boys, which you should find interesting, okay? Mental diseases are not generally that sex specific, that 98% of them are going to be boys. Give me a fucking break. So it's not all about profits from the drug companies. I mean, they want to maximize profits, but the main goal, because if that was the main goal, it would be equal between boys and girls, but it's not. Because the main goal is to lobotomize the boy, to turn him into a girl, to make him passive, make him weak, make him easy to control. This is the main motivation of the left. And the drug companies pushing the drug itself, well, that's just for profit. But the impetus is to destroy boys and young men. And this makes me very sad, but there's not a lot you can do about it at this point because the left has seeded all the educational institutions who are first indicator reporters with leftists, meaning that the people in these institutions have supposedly been trained to, quote unquote, recognize the symptomology of the bullshit disorder that is ADHD, and then report it to the parents, who will then talk to a doctor who will more likely than not define their child as ADHD and then give him drugs for it. Him. Notice I say him, of course. It is interesting to note that the man who was really the inventor, who gave the first diagnosis, who was really the pioneer in this area, admitted on his deathbed that it was a bullshit, made-up disorder. And honestly, it is made up. There's no such thing as ADHD. It doesn't exist, okay? It is not real. I can tell you firsthand, as somebody who has dealt with lots and lots of kids over the years, it's not real. Boys really will be boys. Some boys are more rambunctious than others. They usually end up being the alpha males, the leaders, the ones that are really going to affect change in the world. There's the strong, independent males. But any boy can be targeted. A teacher will often target a boy, even if he's just temporarily or is an isolated incident is somehow acting out or being difficult. It's in a way sort of vindictive act by many a teacher who has their patience tested, or a child has been difficult. A lot of teachers get a real power boost by being able to label kids this and that and this. And I find it to be highly destructive to children. And I think teachers in and of themselves should take more responsibility. And we should be far more careful about who we choose as a teacher and not give them the license to teach a child just because they have a certain degree. And most teachers these days, in my opinion, are not very good at their jobs. Many of them are leftist morons who have no idea how to critically think or use logic and reason, which you would think would be prime skills required for a teacher. But of course, if you're a boy who has been raised getting ADHD drugs, you will have limited capacity for these things. And if you're a woman, you automatically have limited capacity. And generally speaking, men make much better teachers, but it's kind of hard to get them into these jobs with the crappy pay, and it's not necessarily a job most men want to do. It doesn't necessarily fit their temperament or their biological imperatives. It's not just something. It's just something that a man isn't, generally speaking, geared toward in terms of his biology and his way of thinking. Though some men do teach, it's by far not a majority. So there you have it, the motivations for creating the hocus-pocus bullshit diagnosis that is ADHD, to turn men into lifetime blue pill guys, cucks essentially, weaklings, and the consequence of that was to give the drug companies motivation to make more profit, which in turn made the diagnosis and prescribing of these drugs increase exponentially. So while the profits, of course, were good for the drug companies, their pushing of the drug and the diagnosis, well, I'm not sure it was necessarily something that was foreseen, but it's certainly welcomed. And that has created a much larger scope of people, a much greater impetus to diagnose kids. The kids, number of kids being diagnosed has just gone up and up and up and up, and the profits for these drug companies have gone up and up and up and up. So the main motivations are demasculinize, to pathologize male behavior and turn anything masculine into a pejorative, mainly a toxic trait. So even men who haven't been stuck with this horrible label of ADHD and this horrible self-hate that can come with that, and this self-monitoring and way of looking at self and the qualities that you possess as somehow diseases, it affects men who have not been stuck with this label as well, because those same pejoratives have been stuck to these qualities and classified as diseases. Imagine being a man and looking at yourself and seeing any extreme expression of what are all male traits as a disease, as a pejorative, as a negative. I mean, you're not going to express those feelings, those aspects of self, and you're going to be cuckified essentially, and more red-pilled and more weak and more feminized because of that. So even if you're someone who has not been labeled as a hyperactive kid, you are going to want to stay away from all of the character traits and behavior that has been classified as toxic, as diseased behavior, and essentially making masculinity into a disease is what ADHD really is. And that was the main goal, so as to destroy men and everything about a man and being a man that made men effective, made them strong, made them natural leaders. That was the whole point of the left. That was their whole goal, their main motivation. And that's all ADHD is, a tool to bring about the end of male-dominated society and bring about the rule of the minority-ruled, feminine-ruled society. I am the MGTOW philosopher, and I wish you a good day. Take care.